أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أيتها الأخوات أيها الإخوة أحييكم بتحية الإسلام تحية من عند الله مباركة طيبة السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. So once again coming after Imam Sohaib Webb, and as I think yourself, I agree with all what I heard this session. He told you that, and you know this, that I prefer, just for the sake of our thinking together, it's not a fatwa on Islamic issue, it's just an advice, not to clap, and even if you want to say Allahu Akbar, you say it with your heart, and try to share for the coming 30-35 minutes some thoughts about, in fact, why we are gathered here is to think about the role of students and our role as Muslims in the West, in our societies. And I think that what we heard right now is very important, that we have to reassess what we are doing. We have been saying this for the last 25 years, 30 years. And now, if you look at the situation, and this is why I really think, even though we can be worried and we can be sometimes depressed about what we are doing and the way we are doing it, still, if we are serious about the evolution and the improvement over the last 30 years, it's not bad. It's good. There is an awareness here. And the quality of the people that I'm meeting on the ground, and the quality of the way people are thinking, and the quality of the knowledge, of the understanding of Islam, I should tell you this is good news. This is good. And we are more equipped, and the people who are more equipped is you. But at the same time, because you have people like all these new, intellectuals and ulama and preachers that are here speaking your language, understanding your society, they are helping you into the process to understand things from within. And this is important, but at the same time, it's better, but it means that you are and should understand your responsibility. As it was said, it's to rely on Allah, نَتَوَكَّلُ عَلَى اللَّهِ ثُمَّ عَلَى أَنفُسِنَا. And anfusina here means to understand the very meaning of one verse that we are always using to say, do as much as you can and don't worry about what you can't do. But at the same time, the verse is very demanding. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah doesn't ask to anyone more than she or he can do, but what you can do, you have to do it. You have to do what you can, and you have to assess this. So it's a very demanding verse, in fact. And when we come to what the students, and in which way we deal with students, my life is within academia, being a teacher and working in that field. I see some students coming from an Islamic background and being Muslims, and some other students, the great majority of my students, by the way, are not Muslims. And I have been working in that field for now more than 30 years within the education, and starting to talk about Muslims and students within universities, within academia and the campuses, what should be done. I think that it's a very important sphere. It's a very important field within which we need you to be much more involved and to reassess what you are doing. Now, we need to come with an introduction. We are asking ourselves what is the role of the students, and this is why I want to start with you. And in fact, this talk, if you listen to it carefully, it's a very demanding one. I don't want you to come and to get out of this room saying, oh, it's a good talk and that's it, I will keep some thoughts. It's really as it was said, from theory to practical answers. How do we translate this into reality? And in which way every one of us in this room can do something. You come to ISNA convention not only to listen, but to be reminded in which way you have to practice. You have to translate this into reality. In which way you have to be an effective Muslim, efficient citizen, and a dignified presence in this society. So this is where I want you to think about how we can translate this. And you know what is said about our mission as Muslims. So let us start with the big picture. كنت خير أمة أخرجت للناس. You are the best community, and very often from Arabic to English or European languages, we just say كنت خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. So we say you promote what is right, resist what is bad, and you believe in God. In fact, there is a condition here. In as much as you promote what is right and you resist you promote what is good and you resist what is bad, and the secret from behind it is that you believe in God. In fact, if you look at the way the verse is built, and this is where as students you have to think about it as human beings, Allah is telling us in the Quran, you are the best community among people because what they see from you is that you promote what is good and you resist what is bad. And you know the secret. The secret is you believe in God. He knows it, you know it, and the people see the consequences of it. Your mission is this. If your faith means something, it should be visible through what the people see, the quality, the added value. It's not the way you dress. It's not only the way you dress. It's not only the way you are perceived with your names and your color. It's the way you behave, the dignified, ethical presence. As the people are coming from the visible, you as Muslims, you start by the invisible. تؤمنون بالله وتأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر. You start from the beginning. As Muslims, you understand that what they don't know, it's from where you start. The secret of why you are doing what you are doing is وَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ. So this is the starting point of our understanding. This is our role. Because we believe in God, we understand that what we have to do as Muslims, our role, our mission is to promote what is good and to resist. And this is, what is the secret of this? How do we come to the center? First, there is something that we keep on repeating, knowledge. And Suhaib was repeating this, Brother Suhaib was repeating the fact that knowledge is important, illa ilm, and we know how much Islam, so I'm not going to repeat this, all the things that you know that Islam is based on knowledge. And then with knowledge, there is fahm, understanding. And then there is fiqh, which is, in practical terms, to go from theory to practice. The theoretical dimension, the practical dimension, this is the way, as Muslims, we have to promote our religion, the spiritual dimension and the practical dimension. Having said that, if you think now about the verse itself, the consequences, تَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَتَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنكَرِ. You are American or Canadian, North American Muslims. You are. And by the way, we are not Muslims living in the West, we are Western Muslims. Our culture is a Western culture, American, and there are many cultures, by the way, and we are Muslims by principle. And there is nothing wrong with this. We are assertive about this identity, multiple identity, and this is our culture. Imam Suhaib Wahb, repeating that he is a convert, he is not an Arab. He's not an Egyptian. He likes Egypt, but he's clearly, for me, coming from Europe, an American. And the way you react is a very American way. You are culturally American. And that's good. Take it as something which is positive. Celebrate this in what is good. Resist it in what is bad. But there is something which, if you come to تَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, it means that from the very beginning, your understanding of Islam has a consequence. You have to study the society where you live. Why? If you promote what is good, you should know what is good in this society. There is no way to promote what is good if you don't know your society. So you have some scholars coming from Egypt and Saudi Arabia. They don't know about what is happening in this country, and they have a very, very binary vision, monolithic vision, wrong vision of what America is and this culture. What you have to do from within is to start doing your job. And to start doing your job is to identify what is good, to identify what is bad, and to identify what is good in this culture that is helping the people to get maslahat nas. And you know what? Maslahat nas, the public interest for the Americans or in the United States of America, can be different from maslahat nas in other European countries or Western countries. This is your job. You have to assess it from within. If you are serious about the verse, تَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, ma'ruf mean known by the people as being good. Who are the people? The American. Based on what? Your principles. But you have to study. You have to look at what is good in this society. So, for example, the way we deal with many different dimensions, the cultural dimension, the social dimension, you have to study this as part of what are the consequences of the verse. Now, the second thing which is very important is be assertive with the fact that you are American and that this is your society. And as students is the field where you have to study this. But there is something which is a critical assessment of your culture, a critical assessment of this society. And it means you stop talking about us versus them. It's us and what is good in this society. And what is good in this society means that what you have to do is to be critical. And to be critical with your own culture is not that you are putting your culture far from yourself. It's the way you belong to this culture. A critical loyalty to your culture is the very beginning of you reforming this society and to promote what is good. But you have to do it from within. This is the first consequence of the verse that we are talking about here. And with this, what is needed and coming from students is three things. First is a balanced perception. It's a nuanced perception. And you know what nuance means in Islamic terms? الوسطية. وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا is to avoid these very extreme judgments, is to look at things and say, okay, this is good, this is bad, I can take this, and then you start with wisdom to decide what are the priorities and what are the steps. الأولويات. But all this should be done with knowledge from within, with assessment and critical assessment, and something that cannot be done by anyone. After Allah, the only people who can change this society in this country is yourself, because you know this society. You know what is coming from inside, what is coming from this society. And the second thing that you have to do is also to assess who are the people who are living with you, who are the actors of change, who are the agents of change in this society. And I can tell you something that sometimes, you know, I keep on joking about this, but I've been written many books, and sometimes I have the impression that people of other faiths have a better understanding of my books than Muslims. So sometimes I talk with people who are not from my religion, they read the book in a way which is, they got it. And the Muslims say, what do you mean? It's too philosophical, with this very simplistic perception that Islam, to be a good Muslim, you have to avoid philosophy. Not understanding that Islam in itself is producing a philosophy of life. That what is wrong in philosophy is to be rationally arrogant. What is right with philosophy, with and related to our religion, is to be intellectually humble. Intellectual humility is something that we can produce out of our understanding of philosophy. And the reconciliation between the two dimensions is so important here. Now, this is the starting point to understand our role. So now you are students, and the great majority of you are students. We have to think about what we have to do within our society. And I have 4 points to just make here and try to be quite structured in the way I want you to get this. Because this is my main point also, is that in our understanding of our role and responsibility, we should be, it was said, institutionalizing our presence, but also structured in our thinking. There are priorities, and we have to understand that. There is something which, for me, it's, once again, you are in universities and you are within academia, you are in your schools to get knowledge, and we never stop. You will never stop. I'm teaching in university, and exactly what was said. I'm learning a lot from my students, a lot in what they are, the PhDs that I'm reading, the masters, and what they are doing. You get knowledge and you study. And you are yourself studying, and still you have to study. And this means that you get knowledge. To get knowledge means to get power. Knowledge is power. And at the end of the day, what is important here in the way we get this knowledge is to get the landscape. What is behind? Why are you trying to get this knowledge? Do you want your degrees? Do you want to be called a doctor, a professor, or a sheikh? At the end of the day, what is very important here is the landscape within which and through which you get this knowledge. And at the end of the day, as Muslims, what is very important is, and I kept on repeating this, we are not worshiping knowledge. Our knowledge is to worship God. We are using the knowledge that we are trying to get to worship Him. And then what we are trying to do here is to get it right. All our knowledge in the light of our relationship with Allah, the Tawheedi dimension, which is La ilaha illallah, is to understand that there is a dimension is how do we use this knowledge, and in the name of what? So, what is this backdrop? What is the background? That anything that you are trying to do, you should never forget, in anything that you are doing, it's the why you are getting this knowledge, the very meaning of life. The very meaning of life is to serve Him, and if you want to serve Him, you have to serve the people. Why? You have to keep on repeating this, because when you enter academia, when you enter and you read books, at the end of the day, it's always the same. You have instruments and ends, means and ends, and you end up focusing on the means and forgetting the ends. Why are you doing what you are doing? What is the main objective of your life when you are within academia? And this knowledge of God, this knowledge, the meaning of life, every time. And it means what in contemporary terms? It's to be very serious about the ethical dimension. The ethical dimension is what is right and what is wrong, and the goals of what you are trying to get is what are your objectives with this knowledge. And in any field, you are a medical doctor, you are a philosopher, you are a teacher, you are trying to get experimental sciences, exact sciences. In any field, the very starting point of your commitment within academia is to keep the landscape, which is why I'm trying to get this knowledge. And this will have consequences in what we are doing, and I will come to this. The second point, which I want to make here, is in the knowledge, in the field that you are studying, you will get the instruments, what you will get from your religion, what you will get from your philosophy of life is the ethical. How do you use this knowledge? And as Muslims, I am seeing people who are studying medicine, they are studying experimental sciences, whatever, chemistry, physics, or human sciences. What is necessary now is to reconcile knowledge with ends. Because the problem that we have in our societies, and mainly in the industrialized society, is very often that we are trying to be efficient, but the ends are not there. So we are changing the structures of our schools, but at the end you have to ask, What do you want to achieve? Which kind of students do you want to have? For example, I am dealing with Muslim or Islamic schools. And in the book, Western Muslims and the Future of Islam, I have been critical to some of the schools. I visited almost 200 Islamic schools. And I was disappointed by saying, if Islamic schools mean in your mind that we have schools for Muslims, that's the problem. If you only add Quran and Arabic in the school and you compete with other schools only on the structural, who is the best and the most efficient, I'm sorry. If Islamic schools mean something, it's based on the principles and the objective. Which kind of human being you want? Which kind of citizens you want? Which kind of dignified presence in this society? So it's much more about the meaning of life and not the structures. So we need here to be very open because الشيطان شغال. And you know where he is شغال? When you confuse between the means and the ends. And you forget the ends, obsessed with the means. This is happening with all the Muslims. We want to do as good as them on quantity, not on quality. So our presence is to reassess all this by saying, I want to assess the quality, the substance, the goals. What do I want to achieve in this society? Not to compete with the first, forgetting that at the end, if the first is to make more money, I'm trying to produce more dignity. This is my main point. This is what we have to do, and as students, you have to be very careful in this field also to promote this. There is a third dimension which is important. You know, when I was invited to go to Rotterdam as a university professor there was something which was very interesting. They asked me to come and to reconcile between universities and cities. In fact, to get out of this ivory tower and to connect city and society. It's very easy when you are a student, or very easy when you are a professor, to be far from the society and to think far from the people. There is no spirituality, no religion, nothing in Islam that is telling you, think far from the people. No, you think for yourself and you think to serve God and to serve the people. You have to reconcile this. So within academia, if you want to get your degree, if you want to get a PhD, it's not only to have the title for yourself, but to think about the best way to serve your community and the people around you. So I think that this is also something which is so important. There is a trap here. When you get the money in our society, one of the most important traps that we can face in the West is really to get the jobs, to get the money, and to forget these dimensions. At the end of the day, we need students thinking about their role, how are they going to serve the society, to reconcile university and city, to reconcile knowledge and to reconcile it with society. This is exactly what is important in the way we deal with our understanding of knowledge. Al-ilm al-nafi' is this one, is the way we are dealing with this. Remember something. Who were the people who first followed the messengers? Not only the Prophet ﷺ, but all the prophets, they were followed by al-mustad'afin, the poor people. Why? Because these people were within the society excluded. So they followed the message saying, we are going to change life. We are going to come for justice. We are going to change this society for something which is more justice, more dignity in the society. So this is what we have to understand as Muslims and within academia, that what we need to do is not to get the title, it's not to be doctors and professors or students, it's really to come back and to reconcile this with who are the people who are in need of our presence in this society. And you as students, you have to build that bridge, the bridge with the society, which is, once again, important. And then, when you do this, you look at what is happening in our society. If the universities and if our campuses are places where we think we have time to read, we need to be the counterpower to what is happening outside. It was said, you know, to feel good and emotions could be good, but too much emotion means that you are completely lost. Mass communication could produce mass naivety. And this is what is happening very often. Too much communication, we go towards this mass communication, internet and all this, and we become in our society very simplistic. And very simplistic about what is happening in your own country, very simplistic about what is happening in the world. You look at what is happening in the Middle East, and you talk even with Muslims, very simplistic about what is happening in some of the conflicts that we have in Syria, very simplistic in what is happening, the dynamics within our society, very much focusing on politics, forgetting economy, very simplistic. Where do we have to come with something which is a strong understanding of what is happening, with expertise, with understanding to take time? This is what we are expecting from students. And the students should do this. Take time where everything is going too fast outside academia and to reconnect, to have a role, a resisting role. I expect and I can hope from students to be counterpower to this mass communication, simplistic understanding of the world. And this is where, as Muslims and Muslim students, you have to be here. And not only to complain about the people, they don't know Islam, they don't know who we are. If they don't know, it's our responsibility. If they don't know who we are, it's because we are not there. We are not there with the expertise, with the discourse, with the words, with the way we have to deal with the surrounding society. So this is why, as Muslims, we have, and the students should do this. This is your responsibility. Don't wait for imams and scholars to come to do the job. The media, the active and practical media in our society, it's you. As students, you have to do this. And we can see this. I can tell you something which is now coming from facts and figures, that people are changing their perception of Islam by interacting with Muslims in their daily life. It's happening everywhere, but it should be at the highest level within our academic world. This is where students, you have to be involved in this discussion, and you have to be equipped with the critical intelligence, the critical understanding of what is happening, and to avoid all this simplistic. And sometimes it means that you have to be self-critical, but in a constructive way. Don't try to please the people who are attacking Islam by saying Muslims are bad or Muslims are not doing. This is not the right way. I'm seeing now so many Muslims, they are so scared to be visible Muslims that they are ready to respond to criticism by saying, yes, you are right, Muslims are. No, you have to acknowledge that some Muslims and some understanding are wrong, but this is not the way to look at the situation. So to be self-critical with being assertive on our principles, on what we are promoting, this is the way we have to be. And the students here have a critical role. Not to come to something which is emotional reaction or invisible presence. We have to change the quality of our presence. Having said that, and I come to the last part of my talk, but this is the framework from where I think we have to start. And to be equipped means that we have organization. MSA, it's a very old organization and doing a good job. Now, we have to assess what we are doing on campuses and in which way we deal with our fellow students, with the other organizations. Something which is important, now we cannot avoid this. We should avoid any informal Islamic activities that we are promoting things without being structured. But once again, a student Muslim activity is not only under the label Muslim students. That's good to have some organizations, and we have to keep this. Now, in our campuses, in our universities, we need to have institutions where we are promoting new activities, new understanding of what should be the quality of our presence. And even the discussion, why is it that when you are a Muslim student, every time you are organizing a lecture, is it about Islam? Mainly what? MSA or other organization, we have so many organizations in the West, it's as if we only come with Islam and such topic. Islam and this. Islam, stop it. What about environment? What about, culture? What about, come with something which is, the principles are universal, and we come with a critical understanding of the issue. What was said, for example, which has to do with the Islamic ethics. And Islamic ethics is not only to qualify anything that you are doing with Islamic. You come with, and this is why we have partners. There are so many people of other faiths who are coming with the Islamic ethics, and they are not putting Islamic on the ethics they are promoting. But we are not in touch with the people. We have to identify, as I said at the beginning, what is good in this society. And I can tell you that I met within academia so many bright minds that I want to work with. In all the fields, very sharp, very ethical. They are not Muslims, but they share our values. And if we want to promote something in this country, if you want to do something good in the United States of America, where are the students identifying who are the professors, who are the intellectuals, who are the people in this society from which they can take something, from which they can learn, and with whom they can work? From whom they can take and with whom they can work. We need an intellectual movement resisting this isolation. If you are pushed only to talk about, of course we need this, of course we need lectures and we need to but at the end of the day, look, you are so many, coming to the ISNA convention and so many conventions with Muslims. How many people of other faiths are listening to us? What do they know about us? We talk to one another, we talk to ourselves, and that's good, and that's fine, and we have to keep this. But when you go out from here, this is where you have to connect. This is your job. What we are doing, gathering and getting this energy, should now be spread around. Through our activities, institutionalizing our presence on campuses, with professors, with teachers, with students and other students. And this is where we need to tackle other issues that are so important in our society. But this is important. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ إِذَا عَمَلَ أَحَدُكُمْ عَمَلًا أَن يُتْقِنَ. And this is where you need to get the expertise. So sometimes the imam or the scholars are not the right person. And students, you are equipped now. You have to assess the quality of your knowledge. And some of you are getting the highest level of knowledge, but they are not confident. They are childish when it comes to reconnecting their knowledge with the ethical Islamic principle. Be assertive, know the ethical, and this is where what I said at the beginning is the background is the ends, the goals of your knowledge while you are trying to get this knowledge. And then you come with this, and then you reconnect your expertise with the principles of our religion. You reconcile the two dimensions. But for this, of course, what was said is your religious knowledge, understanding, you have to be equipped, and then you come with this expertise. Just to mention some of the things that we have to do, please, in the United States of America, in this society, if you are serious about your faith, you need to organize, you need to be committed to dialogue and discussion on the meaning of life. The American society is facing a very deep crisis. It's not only an economic crisis, it's a crisis of meaning. It's, a consumerist society. You have two choices. Either you yourself become consumerists, and it's happening, or you question the very essence of this through your spiritual كونوا ربانيين. كونوا ربانيين means be the people who are with this understanding of the spiritual life, but making a topic, make it something which is essential in this society. But not here. Don't come to ISNA convention and only once a year or twice a year we have a convention when we talk about the meaning of life. Go to your campuses. Go with some scholars, with some people from other faiths, and organize and keep the people talking about the meaning of life, the essence of life. Have talks on campuses on death. Let the people think. Why the Prophet ﷺ is saying, Allahumma dhakkirna bil mawti kulli sa'a. Let us remember that we are going to die every minute, every hour. Why don't we talk about this on our campuses? Only Islam is good, we are nice people. No, the very deep discussion, the philosophical discussion are important. This is a field where we are not. And we have lots of professors and teachers and students, they are ready to talk about this, about everything which has to do with health and well-being. This is where we have to be. Well-being is so important. It's very important. We need to be Muslims with this well-being in our society. Why do we fast? The way we are dealing with all these dimensions, this is where students, you have to reconnect, coming from, where are the medical, the doctors? The doctors, the medical doctors, where are you when it comes to, for example, with this center that we opened on Islamic legislation and ethics, reconnecting, trying to get the people and to try to talk about the essential thing when it comes to bioethics and medical. We want to be there, but students should be this, and many of you are equipped. When it comes to the culture, when it comes to everything which has to do with this creativity, students should be here on campuses, dignified arts and entertainment. Can't you do that? Why are you waiting for? Why don't you do things on campuses that are completely creative? Be confident and creative in the way you deal with your fellow students and your fellow professors. This is what should come from students, and not only dealing with Islamic issues when it comes to this. There are also something, and I will end with this. I spoke about culture, economy as well. I met so many Muslims, they come and they studied economy. They have three main questions. Can I work in a bank? So can I make money in the system? Is it halal? What about Islamic economy? Dreaming of an Islamic economy, not knowing what to do with the current economy now, and not even dealing with what is happening in the society. The United States of America, the economic system in this country is not a good system. You have millions of people who are poor, completely neglected in this society. And if you are serious about understanding your religion, you have to be committed to understand. So you are not going to be all sheikh and shuyukh, you are not going to be all becoming economists. But where are the economists who are involved in thinking about alternative? And you are equipped. I'm sorry, I met so many people who studied economy, but they just want to be acknowledged. What we want is be acknowledged with his expertise and be creative in that field, to come with something which has to reconnect your knowledge of economy and the society within which you live. And it means to be serious about the economic factors to social injustices. The way, the African American and the Latinos are treated in this country. Where are the students who are ready to talk about this? But not to talk with emotion, but to talk with knowledge, with facts. Now we see some of our young intellectuals, and I can tell you in Europe it's happening, in the States it's happening as well, more and more equipped. So this is good news. We have to be much more committed in this. And there is another thing which is important. Yes, I'm finishing. But once again, Sohaib Webb was talking about what happened when I was banned from this country. And I can tell you something which is a personal story in this. And sending you to, all the great movements. You can now be very happy with, the story of Malcolm X, rahimahullah, and other people. Who are the people who were following, supporting, active? The great majority of them were students. There was a very strong movement of students. They were very, very active, having an ideology. You can agree or not with some of the people around the world. What is happening with the Muslim organizations? Very often we are active to be acknowledged. But what about the struggle for justice? What about these voices in your universities where I'm very happy to see some of the students, they are not happy with the foreign policy, but they dare to speak. When I was banned of this country, many Muslims forgot. Many Muslim organizations forgot. And ACLU was there, non-Muslim, and struggling for rights. And this is where Muslims should come with others. Don't expose yourself as Muslims, but expose yourself as human beings that are ready to speak and say no to injustices.
Because to tell us today that the United States of America is with the Egyptian people, the Tunisian people, and all the people who are willing or struggling for democracy is a bit late to tell us this, when for years you supported dictatorships. It's a bit, no. So the point here is really for you to be students where we need you to use your minds, but to be courageous. And once again, we need courageous scholars, but we need courageous students. If you want your degree and for that you repeat what is the professor is saying, you are not a student, you are a parrot. You just repeat. What we want now is students who are able to have a movement, and not only to be critical towards the state, but to be able to say what is good and to be able to be courageous to resist and to have this word. I don't see so many students here doing this, talking about the way sometimes you are supporting unjust regimes. I don't care not coming in this country if by saying that I support the Palestinians, I don't like the unilateral support towards Israel just before the election. If this means that I'm not going to this country, I'm not going to this country. You are citizens, be a bit courageous, because this is going to help this country. It's going to be a bad future for the United States of America if they carry on having this unilateral support to unjust, oppressive people. You are Americans. Come with the right word. No, it's not. It's serious here. It's a serious thing. It's to be courageous and to tell to your organization, please, just a bit of courage, just to speak out sometimes. But it means, as I said, courage is not only to criticize the government. It's to be able to say what is good, to say what is wrong, and to be also self-critical. Because the last question just before the election, someone asked me, how come the Muslims are millions in the United States of America? It's as if they count for nothing. Good question. Thank you to give me the answer. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.